Alright guys, how's it going? My name is Nyxre and welcome to my first look at the brand new game Plantera. So, what is this game? Well, it's an incremental based farming game released on January 28th by Daniel Hjelm on Steam. And as you can probably see, it looks very colorful, very vibrant, very simple, because that's essentially what it is. It is at its core a incremental game. So if you're looking for complexity, obviously this is not the game that's going to provide it. However, if you're looking for something simple that has a simple step of progression, then you'll probably enjoy this, but that'll be up for you to decide. So, what is Plantera and why is it different than, say, Cookie Clickers, Clicker Heroes, or any other incremental game that is popular at the very moment? Well, to be honest, not a whole lot. It is at its core a incremental game, so of course you'll have steady progression, and your whole incentive to the game is basically to build up your farm, get more money, get higher levels, and basically that's it. There's not a whole lot to it. But that's basically what people like about incremental games. It's not too complicated, but you always feel as if you're progressing in some way. Now, why would you enjoy this? Well, that's obviously going to be very subjective. But in the case of Plantera, you might like it just because, it is farming based. It is something slightly different. Obviously, there are incremental games out there which are based around farming. However, none exactly like this. And maybe you just want something which is a bit more active than just, idly clicking on a cookie every second, which is essentially what Cookie Clickers is. Or maybe you'd rather do something which isn't as in-depth maybe as Clicker Heroes, which requires basically knowing the formulaic way of upgrading and all that sort of nonsense if you want to level at the most efficient rate. Now that's not to say that any of those games are necessarily bad, because I wouldn't say that, but if you're looking for something which is a bit more involved but is still an incremental game, then you'll probably enjoy this. So, what are the basics of Plantera? Well, essentially you start off with absolutely nothing on all this land. As you can see, I have quite a lot of it. I'm level 47 now. You start off with basically just one of these blue little helper guys and some money. What you're going to do with that money is you're going to catch some butterflies and you're going to upgrade your first farm. Or, more specifically, you're going to buy some carrots. What you're going to do is you're just going to wait for those to grow. You can either click on them to harvest them, or your blue guy will harvest them for you. And basically you start off with almost nothing. And of course, over time, you'll accumulate more money. You can get some bushes, some giant trees, and you can even get some animals on your farm. With this money, you're obviously going to progress in level. You're going to be able to progress in how fast you obtain money, not only because the higher level resources are obviously going to be worth more. As you can see here, lemons are worth 54, and if I get out of there, cherries are worth 45, so obviously they do go up. And I'll get into these stars here in a minute. And on top of that, you do have the advanced leveling progression in the sense that you can make the game run for longer while not online. You can make it where you just get a multiplier for everything that you ever make, which in this case you use manure, so fits the farming theme. And of course you can get more guard dogs to basically keep your animals safe while you are not actively playing, from say this little pink rabbit, which is obviously very vicious and I just scared it away. So what else is there really to this game? You're just upgrading all these items, which is basically what incremental games are based around. But what else is there to it? Well, there's not technically a whole lot. You can obviously see I am attacking these little pests. You got moles, you got foxes, you got wolves. Here's a fox. You got rabbits, and a few other things, which basically come to your farm and try to attack it. Now, you don't necessarily need to be online to do anything about them, because they're not going to completely tear apart your farm. They're not going to completely destroy the way that your farm works. They're not going to kill your animals, but they will hinder your progress very minimally. I will say that. If you want to make them have less of an impact, obviously you can just buy more guard dogs, as I have now. I have 8 guard dogs. I can just go ahead and buy some more. So you just throw this guy down, throw him there, and they get progressively more expensive as you have more, as makes sense with any incremental game. So what else is there to this game? Well, I'll be honest. Right now, there's not a whole lot. You can see there's a wolf right here. He's the hardest enemy in the game right now. You have to click on him 5 times to get rid of him. I'm not sure if the guard dogs actually do anything to him. I'm pretty sure they do. But that's besides the point. As I've said, there's not really that much content in the game at this very moment. This is only a few days after the game has initially released, and there has been a few updates since the release, so it is promising in that aspect. However, if you're looking for a game that you can invest tons and tons of hours into and never reach the end, this isn't necessarily the game for you at the very moment. That's not to say that that's not the game it may become, because obviously as the game is very new, there's very many updates yet to be made. However, I will show you right now, the maximum level required to get pretty much everything is level 29, which is what's required, I believe, to get the lemon tree. And as you can see, I'm level 47, and I only have a couple hours put into this game, most of which aren't actually put in the game. It was just left idling, so obviously I'm not doing much. But that's not very long. That's actually extremely short for an incremental based game, which this obviously is trying to be, because you're just progressing at a very minimal rate, and then it becomes exponential as you progress further on into the game. So what is there after you've reached level 29? Well, you've seen these stars as I've been overlaying across all of these different items. The stars, basically, I don't know how to explain them. I'm going to consider them as prestige right now. I can put down a carrot farm, and right now they sell for 27 each. Obviously, part of that is due to the fact that my multiplier is ×9, which would mean these are normally 3 coins each. However, when you first start the game, they're only worth 1 each, which means that each of these basically multiplies the value. So essentially, instead of getting new content, you're just getting upgraded carrots, upgraded radishes or beets, whatever these are, pumpkins, and so on. So really, there's not much there right now, but it's not like it's a death sentence for the game, because as I've said before, the developers are still actively updating the game. There are still things to be added, and the game did just come out, so obviously there's no reason to believe that there's not going to be any new content coming out relatively soon. And that's also not to say that the amount of content that's here is absolutely terrible, because while it is very small for an incremental game, it's still enough to keep you enjoying the game for a couple hours, which, considering the price tag, which as of release is $3 US or your regional equivalent, it's not really that bad, especially if you're the kind of person that really likes incremental games. You'll probably find at least one aspect about this game that you really enjoy. So what else is there to cover? Well, as you've seen, you can get different plots of plants, you can get different kind of bushes, you can get different types of trees, you can get different types of animals, which you can put down a cow, and I'm actually out of space for cows. And on top of all that, you can also just continue to expand your farm. Originally you start off with maybe 3 or 5 plots of land, something like that, and now I'm up to about 47. Here's a loot hero. And of course I can click on this, I can upgrade my farm, and I will get another blue helper. Obviously this helps more in the fact that the blue helper will actively pick up items while I am not online, which obviously helps me more right now than if I were to just plop down more pieces of land, because I don't really have enough money to get the expensive ones. You can see I can put down a lemon tree, put down another one, put down another one, and now I'm pretty much out of money unless I want to put these down, which are worth drastically less. So obviously there's not a whole lot you can do about that, but in terms of progression, obviously, basically you're just trying to make your farm bigger, you're trying to get new things, and you're trying to keep pests away from your farm, because they are going to continually come back. So what else is there about this game? Well, as you've seen at least twice now, there's been this little guy running around with a lancer just from one side of the screen all the way to the other. He just runs across the entire thing, across your entire farm. That is the loot hero. That is one of the most recent updates to the game, which just came out, I believe, yesterday or 2 days ago at the time of making this video. And basically what you do is you just click on him as many times as you want, and he will give you a certain amount of money, which scales on the size of your farm, I believe. At the same time, he will also scare away any pests that you have, such as rabbits, moles, wolves, or foxes, anything like that. And that's a very minor update, obviously, and that does involve you to be active with the game. Obviously, if you're idle or if you're offline, you can't do anything about that. So it is a very minor aspect, but it is promising in the fact that they have added something slightly different than what is already here in the very recent future. So what would I say about Plantera? Now, this is with only a couple of hours put in the game, but I am level 48. I do have pretty much all of the content as of right now unlocked, other than, of course, the fact that these will continue to upgrade, and I can continue to upgrade my farm. Well, I believe that if you're the kind of person that likes incremental games, you'll probably know whether or not this is the type of game for you, or whether or not you feel like waiting. If you're not the type of person that really understands what incremental based games are, then I suggest that you try some of them out. There are various amount of free ones, such as Cookie Clickers and Clicker Heroes, which is available on Steam, which you can try out. You can get the sort of gist of what an incremental based game is. Basically, you start off with nothing, you progress very slowly at the beginning, and then you begin to progress extremely quickly towards the end, basically at an exponential rate. And in most of these games, usually the end game just sort of plateaus and it becomes more difficult. And the whole basis around these games is to feel a sense of progression, not really much about difficulty or anything like that. So if you're on the edge of whether or not you want to buy this game, say you already know what incremental games are, you already know that you enjoy some of them, but you're not sure if you're going to enjoy this, I'm going to tell you you might. And I say that in a very vague way just because For $3, obviously you're not going to lose much if you don't like the game. However, for $3, you're getting a game which really does not have that much content. When you can go and play, say, Cookie Clickers or Clicker Heroes, which has, to some degree, more content and is free. Whether or not that's really worth it for you is going to be up for you to decide. However, I'm not going to hold it against the game. Obviously, for $3, I can say that this game does look somewhat promising. The frequent updates from the developers so far are making the game look as if there's going to be far more content in the future. But there's not a whole lot I really can judge by as of right now, other than the fact that if you're looking for an incremental game which requires a little bit of activity but not really any that's mandatory, something where you can create your own farm, see all these little cute little animals, fend off pests like this bird which has come back like a million times in this video, then you might like Plantera. And you know what, give it a shot, because for only $3 you're not going to be out much if you lose. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my first look here at Plantera. The link to purchase the game on Steam will be down in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next one.